Oh man. Listen, I'm trying to record this video right now, but it's becoming difficult because my phone keeps blowing up with people talking about De'Aaron Fox. I mean, y'all can see my Twitter now right here. They're talking about his extension. They're talking about how it's unfortunate timing. They're talking about what's next, AD. And of course, I'm getting all these tweets and comments because people just saw my video from yesterday that I may or may not have titled "The Miami Heat are closer to De'Aaron Fox than you may think," which was just a dumbass title because less than a day later, Fox officially signed his extension with the San Antonio Spurs. If you haven't seen that video, you can go check it out, but I'm not going to lie to you. It's pretty irrelevant at this point, but basically what we discussed in that video is why the Spurs might not sign him to that extension, and then the Heat could have a chance at him in 2026 free agency. Because, of course, that was the Heat's grand plan. Save all this cap space for next offseason. Maybe they could get Luka. Maybe they could get Fox. And now both those guys are off the table now that they signed their extensions. So we could look at the 2027 free agency when you got guys like Curry or Kawhi or Trae Young who will be unrestricted. But I know it shows Luka here, but he just signed his extension. But that's the point. Most of these guys will. I'm sure Curry and Kawhi and Trae Young, I'm sure those guys will extend and not be available in 2027. So although it looks like a great free agency class now, by this time next year, it probably will start to look pretty weak like we're seeing right now with 2026. Even the guys with player options like Giannis and Jokic and Spida, they'll all either opt in or more likely opt out and re-sign for more years. Because the CBA is only going up. Those guys will still be superstars in the 2027 offseason. So the most likely case scenario is that they opt out and then re-sign for more years. Not to say that those guys will stay on their current teams forever. There's definitely a chance that one of them gets disgruntled and demands for a trade. We see that all the time nowadays. Even today, Shams was just on ESPN reporting that Giannis still has not made a decision about whether he wants to remain with the Bucks or not. So he could get traded, but that's the point. We've talked for a while now about how free agency is dead, and ensuring that your team, the Miami Heat in this case, ensuring that we have enough assets when a star asks out is absolutely critical. So in today's video, we're going to break down exactly what assets the Miami Heat have and discuss how we can actually get in the game the next time that a star asks out. We're going to be ranking these players in tiers. But before we do that, it's telling me that 56.4% of y'all are not subscribed. So what we're going to do now that we're sponsored by the great FanDuel is for every person that subscribes, I'm going to throw $5 on the Miami Heat to win the NBA championship at plus 1,400. Either y'all will make me broke or make me rich. We'll see. Either way, make sure y'all subscribe. Now let's get back into the video. So make sure to leave your comments down below and let me know what you agree and disagree with. We'll go in alphabetical order, starting, of course, with Bam Adebayo, which is an easy one for me. I'll put it in the S tier. I know Bam certainly has his haters. My guy Mac2Mon specifically, who's always in my comments with all the Bam Adebayo slander. I get it. You're not a Bam fan. And I will agree once that extension kicks in, not next season, but the year after that, it's a lot of money. You know, he'll be making well over $50 million for several years. And with his inconsistencies on the offensive end and lack of aggression at times, it is a lot of money. But let's not forget that Bam Adebayo is arguably one of the most versatile and overall best defensive players in the entire NBA and can also score 20 points basically every single night. He has a very improving offensive game, whether it's him stretching the floor to the three-point line. He's a pretty elite passer for his position as well. And right now, I think Bam Adebayo could be the centerpiece of a Giannis trade or a trade for another superstar. I think in terms of picks, he can net you 3 first-round picks minimum, more like 4. And when you can get that kind of draft capital, in my opinion, you are an S-tier asset. Not saying I would want to trade Bam Adebayo. I certainly would for the right person, or if they wanted to blow it up, I'm not against that. I can tell you that he definitely would never trade Bam Adebayo because they've all anointed him as the next culture carrier. So they never will trade him. But if they wanted to, he's an S-tier asset. Moving on to Simone Fontecchio, the new guy they just got in the Duncan Robinson sign and trade. I like Fontecchio. I really do. He does have a little bit of value being that he's a small expiring contract, so he could be somewhat of a throw-in in a trade. So for that reason alone, I think I'll go C tier. Because again, we're not talking just based off the player. We're talking about his contractual value as well. And guys on a small expiring deal, a lot of times are great throw-ins to make the money work. So for that reason, I'll put Fontecchio in C tier. Next, we got Tyler Herro, one that will be very controversial, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to put him in A tier. So for all the people that think I'm a Tyler Herro hater, I'm literally ranking him as an A tier asset. Of course, he has his flaws as well. He gets hunted defensively. There's been a lot of inconsistencies in the postseason. I understand that. And he also is due for an extension October 1st. So there's a lot of questions surrounding his contract. But right now, for the next 2 seasons, he's not on a bad deal. And what he is, and they can never take it away from him, is an all-star, a 25-year-old all-star. And for those reasons alone, I think you're an A-tier asset. If Desmond Bane went for 4 first-round picks, I think Tyler Herro can go for at least 3. I do think Desmond Bane is a better player. I think that situation was a little bit weird because of how desperate the Magic were. So I really don't think Desmond Bane himself was worth 4 first-round picks. I think that's more of a case of him being an outlier, that trade being an outlier, than him setting the market. But still, I think Tyler Herro can get you about 3 first-round picks. You're talking about a guy who fits perfect in today's NBA with his ability to shoot the ball from long range. He's also a 3-level scorer, which seems to be a lost art, so I do think that makes him a little bit unique as well. And he was a very improving playmaker last season. And also, I don't think he's a finished product at 25 years old. Can he be the best player on a championship team one day? Probably not, which is why I'm not putting him in S tier, but I do think he's an A tier at the end of the day. Feel free to argue in the comments. Next, we got Haywood Highsmith, who I kind of want to put in C tier just because he is a cheap expiring like Fontecchio. However, I think Haywood is a better player. I think he's the type of guy that could really fit on any team. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in B tier. I think he's a guy that a championship contender might look at and say, hey, we need some more wing depth. Who can we go get at the trade deadline? And Haywood Highsmith is a guy that can net Miami a couple of second-round picks because he's not a type of guy that you have to worry about fitting in your system. He is a pretty good 3-and-D player. He can sit in the corner, shoot 40%. You can put him on the other team's best player and do a relatively decent job guarding them. I think he's the type of guy any championship team can use, and if he can get you a few second-round picks, I'll put that in B tier, I think, for Haywood Highsmith. Next, we got Kasparas Giacochonis, who is an interesting one because he was projected to be a top 10 pick for most of the draft. Of course, ended up falling to Miami at 20. He's only 19 years old, so there's a ton of potential. Has 4 years left on a very cheap rookie deal because he was selected so late in the draft. Prior to Summer League, I probably would have said he was a B or A tier. He did not have a great Summer League, not bad by any means, like Dan Favell on Bleacher Report or wherever he's from, ranking him a D Summer League. No, he had a fine Summer League. He had a relatively inefficient 15 points per game, had a lot of turnovers, but we've looked at his Summer League a ton. I don't think a lot of those were his fault. His teammates kind of dropped the ball a lot of the time. So based off Summer League, he's not the highest asset, but still, we're a month removed from people saying he should have been the 10th pick in the draft. For that reason, I'm going to put him in... See, I can't put him in the same tier as Tyler Herro, though. I can't. I think I'm going to do for now is I'm going to put Giacochonis in B tier, and maybe I drop Haywood to C tier. And we might adjust this later. Maybe we even drop Fontecchio down to D tier. But for now, I'm going to leave it as this, just to keep everything relatively even. Next, we got my boy Kamehame Jaquez Jr., who, after his rookie season... the man would have been an A tier. We were talking about him potentially being the centerpiece of a Damian Lillard deal, either him or Jovic. The Heat were really reluctant to let go of him because he was, I think first team all rookie, had a case for rookie of the year, had a great rookie season, just offensively was incredible. Problem is, went into his second season, still couldn't shoot that great, and it seemed like opposing defenses really figured him out and didn't let him get to his spots in the post. That being said, I still think he's a very skilled offensive player. I think the footwork is still unique to him. And if he can learn to shoot a little bit better, then all that great driving game and post game that we saw his rookie season will really open back up to him. And now you're talking about a guy who's a special offensive player. I also think he has the tools both physically and athletically to be a above average defender in the NBA. Never a great one. The Heat have tried throwing him on guys like DeMar and LeBron. It hasn't been great. But I do think there's some potential there to be above average. Obviously, you're talking about a guy who's 24. He's not as young as a Yakachonis, but it's tough to say where he's at after this season. I can't put him in the same tier as Yakachonis, though. I can't, not after last season. So I think I'm going to put him in C tier right now, just because I don't think he could net you anywhere close to a first-round pick at this point. I think for now, I might put Fontecchio in D tier. I might leave it like this for now. Next, we got Keshad Johnson. Was on a two-way last year. They upgraded him to standard. They gave him another standard this year. Had an okay summer league hit or miss. Really hasn't shown a lot of improvement yet. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in F tier in terms of, an asset. Because if the Miami Heat were to waive him for some reason, I don't even think it's a lock that he would necessarily get picked up. Now we'll go to Nikola Jovic, who I'm going to put in B tier. The biggest question about him is his extension. He's extension eligible as well. I think at the highest end, he might get around $15 million, but more likely in the $12 million range, which I think could turn into a home run of a contract if you're able to lock him into that value for about 4 years or so. Can really fits in today's NBA well, can fit in any scheme as well, just because he can play with the ball, without the ball. He can spot up. He was an improved defender. Obviously, physically, he's gotten much, much stronger. And his trade value can get even higher as Eurobasket's about to start. And he's looking like he's about to just, tear up the court with Serbia. Very excited to see him in there. So right now, I could put him in a B tier. Just when you talk about a 6'10" guy that could dribble and shoot, at his age, he's younger than Jaime Jaquez, you're going to have a lot of people interested in you. So I think B tier is very, very fair for him. Next, we got Pelle Larsson, who I feel like a lot of other GMs might be sleeping on. But, he's a guy that did come into Summer League and up his value a little bit because he stood out from the rest. He was absolutely incredible. Showed that he can still do a little bit of everything out there. And right now, I think he might be a better player than Jaime Jaquez, at least have a bigger role in the Heat system. So I'll put him in the same tier, though. He's still a second-round pick just a year ago, but he should be a rotation player this year, so he definitely has a chance to work his way up to maybe a B-tier asset. Next, we got Davion Mitchell, who the Heat did lock into a 2-year deal. I think it was about $12 million a year, something like that. So not a super long-term contract, but a very fair one for the next 2 seasons. And for that reason, I'll put him in B tier. We said Haywood Highsmith is the guy that any championship team would like to have. Well, Davion Mitchell is the guy that any championship team would love to have. I do think he could net Miami multiple second-round picks. Maybe a first-round pick if a team was desperate, or if the Heat attached some seconds to him. I don't know, something like that. It depends. If he continues the hot shooting that he had last year, in addition to the defense we know he can bring, no doubt about it, B-tier asset. Next, we got Norman Powell, who is another interesting one, considering he's just coming off a season where he was a near all-star, but he's an expiring contract, $20 million per year. For these guys that aren't as good a player, like Terry Rozier, who's next on this list, he has a lot of value as an expiring because teams can look at his contract as a salary dump. But for a guy like Norman Powell, a team might be hesitant to trade a lot of assets for him because he can walk in free agency the following season. And because Powell's still a good player, any team that trades for him likely wants to keep him on the roster for multiple seasons. But I'm going to put him in B tier just because he really doesn't make sense in C tier with these guys down here. But I can't put him in A tier considering the Heat just traded Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love for him. That value is kind of D tier. So it almost even feels weird putting Norman Powell in B tier in terms of a trade asset when Heat really didn't give up much assets at all to get him on the team in the first place. But come on, you're talking about a very efficient 20-point per game scorer that could provide some cap flexibility to a team. If a championship team just wants a shooter for this season to go all in, maybe you get to the deadline and a team is much better than they think they are. Maybe a team like the Lakers said, damn, we thought we'd be a top 4 seed, but we're a number 2 seed. Let's go get Norman Powell. Let's go all in LeBron's last year, get him the shooting that LeBron likes. Maybe they send a few seconds or a first-round pick for Norman Powell. I don't know. It just depends on the kind of season Powell's having, but he feels right in this B tier right now. Quick side note, I want to shout out FanDuel again because I noticed that they have Norman Powell at plus 4,000 to win 6th man of the year. And right now, I'm not so sure that he's going to start over Davion Mitchell. So I love these odds. Definitely something to keep your eye on. Now let's get back into the video. Next, we got Terry Rozier, who he's got that large expiring, which if the Heat are trying to trade for a star, the stars obviously usually make a lot of money, and any team trading a star would like to get expiring money in return because they don't want to be locked into a lot of money. And most NBA teams can't match, large money with expiring deals. The Heat can, because Terry Rozier makes $26 million expiring. But he's just such a bad player. I mean, he's not going to be a rotation player this year, so I'll put him in D tier. He's borderline CD, again, just because he's expiring. And if a team has a bad contract for many years, I could see the Heat maybe willing to take on that bad contract with some picks to offload Terry Rozier. If the Lakers, again, want to get rid of Jared Vanderbilt, makes a few, double-digit $1 million for 4 seasons. They don't like that contract. Maybe they send him to Miami with a few picks. Miami gives him Terry Rozier. I don't know. This is just an idea like that, but it feels weird putting him in a tier with Pelle Larsson. It really does. But I'll put him in D tier, borderline C tier. Next, we got Kel'el Ware, who could have just been the centerpiece of a Kevin Durant trade. If that's the case, I'm gonna put you in A tier. Is it weird to put him in the same convo as Tyler Hero? Maybe not, because Tyler Hero, I think, could net you multiple first-round picks right now. I don't think Kel'el Ware could necessarily, but I think in terms of how other teams view him, they might view him as an A-tier asset because he's an athletic 7-foot freak that has multiple years left on a cheap rookie deal. So in a different way than Tyler Hero, I think his trade value is similar. Can't get you as many first-round picks right now, but teams will be very interested in his potential. He's the type of guy that, okay, if he comes into the season and the three-point shooting gets better, the effort is there, he's getting you double-digit rebounds a night, maybe he is a guy that could then net you multiple first-round picks. So this is more of a potential-based thing, which, we'll have to see how the season plays out, but he's definitely a tier above these guys, a tier above Jokic and Jovic and these guys, right? So he's got to go A tier. I wish there was a mid-tier between S and A, then I would have put Hero there, but for now, we'll keep things the way they are. And finally, we got Andrew Wiggins, who has a couple years left on his contract, making, about $20.5 million, I believe. He had when he played with Miami last year, he wasn't bad in the regular season, even had the 40-point game. I think teams could still look at that and get tricked into thinking he is still a really great player. But he had a bad postseason, and he doesn't provide you that cap flexibility for next offseason. But I'm going to go in B tier because I think maybe if he comes into this season, still plays well, shoots efficiently, I think he's another guy a championship team could possibly send a first-round pick for, and he feels right in that B tier. So I'm going to put him, keep him there for now. I think in terms of the players, I think I like where everyone is at. I think it's fair. Let me know down in the comments below if I'm tripping anywhere. I don't think so. But finally, we need to address the Heat's pick situation. Right now, they have 2 tradable first-round picks and I believe 4 tradable second-round picks. Relative to other teams, that 2 tradable first-round picks is not a ton, but it's something. So I think I'll put it in C tier just in terms of the amount of assets that they have. It's not as bad as it once was because I think the Heat actually own 6 of their next 7 first-round picks. But obviously, because of the Stepien rule, not all of them are tradable. So how do we fix that? Well, to recap the Heat's current pick situation, we do have our 2026 pick next offseason, and we kept that because we just made the postseason last year. We do not have our 2027 pick because of the Terry Rozier trade, which really complicates a lot of things. So it's a damn shame that trade didn't work out, to put it lightly. But then we do have all of our first round picks from 2028 to 2032. So like we mentioned earlier, we actually own 6 of our next 7 first round picks. The problem is because of that 2027 pick being gone, we can't trade 26 or 28 due to the Stepien rule that doesn't allow teams to not have a first round pick in consecutive seasons. So that means that right now we can only actually trade 2029 and 2031 or 2030 and 2032. So I think the Heat's main objective this offseason should be to get that 2027 pick back to allow them to have some more flexibility in terms of trading draft capital. One way they could do that is by trading their 2026 pick. Maybe there's a team that doesn't have a pick next year that wants one because they want to continue building their young core. So the Heat could send their 2026 pick with a few second round picks. The Heat do have 4 of them. And maybe they could say, hey, give us your 2027 pick. If Miami's able to flip their 26 pick for a 27 pick, that would allow them to have 3 tradable first round picks now. They would either be able to trade 27, 29, and 31 or 28, 30, and 32. But the ideal case scenario would be if Miami could trade for a 2027 pick without trading any of their current picks. Maybe they trade Andrew Wiggins for a 27 pick. Maybe they're able to trade Norman Powell, like we mentioned earlier, if he's having a decent season. And if Miami's able to acquire a 2027 pick without trading any of their other picks, we would now go up to 4 tradable first-round picks. That would be in the years 2026, 28, 2030, and 2032. So although Miami's pick situation right now, I put in C tier in terms of an assets, there is some avenues that they could literally double the amount of first-round picks they have via trade, and that would be by acquiring a 2027 first-round pick, which I think the Heat should do ASAP. Because Giannis could ask out any day now. You never know who the next guy might be, and you want to be ready with the draft capital so you can pounce when the next star says they want to come to Miami. Hopefully that all made sense to you. That's really all I got to say for this video. Let me know y'all thoughts down in the comments below. I'm very curious to hear what y'all think. Like the video and subscribe because I'm on the grind to hit 9,000 subs, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.